Hello and welcome back to another episode of By the Way, it's Coco. I'm joined today by Tyler and Sydney,
Hello again.
Hi.
and today we're going to discuss the mysterious disappearance of Elisa Lam. Let's just dive right into it and discuss why it's so mysterious that she disappeared. Well, going back to her West Coast trip, the first time that she had problems, she had several problems and several instances of paranoia, and
No. Hold on. We're not going to say that that was the first time she had problems because she was born with bipolar depression syndrome. So she grew up with that. That was something that was always present.
but that's the first case where she had paranoia on her trips.
But we don't know that. We're going back to that's the first trip that we know of. This is talking about this situation right now. That's the trip that we know about. She was going on a trip to Vancouver, correct? On the
Yeah,
18th.
if we're going back to like when she was younger, she was diagnosed with bipolar and depression, and she was on two different meds for bipolar and depression. But other than that, people say that she was pretty friendly and a pretty normal person.
Okay.
But throughout the course of her trips to the West Coast, it seems like she suffered from like very paranoid and like delusions throughout her trips about people following her and stuff.
Yeah, she posts on Tumblr. For those that don't know, she had a Tumblr account where she would post quotes from authors. She would go and post things that pictures she liked. She was very into fashion, so she'd post stuff about clothes and whatnot. So she had a Tumblr that basically described her life. And eventually, it started to get darker and darker. On some days, it would show that she just thought about fading away and stuff like that. So that's definitely where the depression come in. So, um, basically she goes on this trip, and it's been on plenty of top five videos about weird things that's unexplained. If you've seen it, it's the girl that's inside the elevator, and then she gets out of the elevator and she starts doing weird stuff, acting like somebody's following her. She presses all the buttons. She's acting all kooky. This is the same case we're talking about.
But backing up and going back to her trip, on January 24th, we're talking about a post that she posted where she was talking about she had reckless impulses and she was doing things that she wouldn't normally do.
Okay, so with the reckless impulse thing, right whenever we were watching and I figured out about the fact that she had reckless impulses, I'm thinking reckless impulses. That's just stuff that she wanted to do for fun. She went out and she did random things just off of her mind, off of impulse, like not normal to what she would normally do. Because she described on her Tumblr that the trip had basically been stuff that she's always been doing. So this reckless thing would be like going out, and I don't usually go and sing karaoke or some shit, just some random that she doesn't normally do. So it would basically like doing wacky doodle things like going skinny dipping in a water tank came first to my mind. It's like if she had random impulses of stuff like that, why would she not go skinny dipping in the water tank? After all, the findings did find that when she was in the water tank, she didn't have her clothes on, but the clothes was in the water tank. So that's something I definitely kept in mind when I was formulating my opinion on this. What about you?
But that's because we only have the prior knowledge of we had prior knowledge going into watching the videos about her that she drowned in the water tank.
Yeah, going into the research, all we knew is that we seen a top five video where it's like, oh, why is this unexplained? She somehow got in this water tank that before we believed was too heavy, like the lid was too heavy for her to get into. But before we didn't know if it was locked or not, or if it's open, and kind of we still don't.
In the investigation, they kind of like explained that there was like four different exits out to the roof, and like some of them had alarms, and then there was escapes that didn't have alarms. So she could have got up that way. They're not really sure how she actually got to the rooftop, but we can back up and go to June 28th when she actually checked into the Cecil Hotel, which is known for a lot of different tragedies.
Now, this hotel isn't just like a place where this happened. This is a place where drugs have been peddled. Several people have committed suicide at that hotel. It's not just her. So kind of whenever they said
That did send up red flags.
several people committed suicide there, it's like, did she know that? Did she do any research into it? Is there some kind of demonic force there that would cause people to commit suicide, or was that just part of her depression or anything that she was on? Sydney, you haven't been talking. What are your thoughts about it?
I'm just thinking that it's possible that the hotel could have like a cursed background to it because of how weird she was acting. It said that she was not under the influence of alcohol, and it's not normal human actions for her. And although she may be just trying to be childish and like pushing all the buttons and stuff, but it still seems a little weird that she's so paranoid going into an elevator. And it's also, I kind of believe the rumor about her trying to play like the elevator game where you're trying to go into a different world and contact demonic spirits and stuff. So I think it's possible that there's something actually there that she's seeing that no one else is seeing. And maybe that drove her to it. Maybe she was possessed, or maybe someone tried to kill her.
Definitely, whenever you watch the video, the first thing you're thinking, whenever you see the video, and I definitely encourage y'all to go watch the video. When you see the video, first things first is her going into the elevator, and then she's like pressing all the buttons, and then she gets like pressed up into the corner, like she doesn't want to be seen in the elevator, and then like her mouth is not really visible, like it's blurred out, so you don't know if she's happy, like if she's laughing because she pressed all the buttons and she's being kiddish, and that's going through her mind, or if she's scared, and then she kind of peeks around the corner, like is somebody watching me, you know?
And then at one point, it even kind of looks like she's talking to somebody off in the corner.
Because in a way, she could be trying to push all the buttons because maybe like mentally she thinks that's gonna make the doors close faster. So if she is running from someone, she could be trying to like make sure the doors close. And since they're not closing, she wants to peek out and see if someone's
That's
there.
another thing that doesn't make any sense. She spent a good little bit of time in the elevator, and the doors actually never really closed.
Yeah.
To be fair about that part, she's always poking her head out of it, and elevators are sectioned to where if you put your hand out,
I
it's going to
understand
stop the
that,
door
but
from
I'm
closing.
saying there's actually a good section of time where she was in the corner
Yeah,
that
and
what the doors should have shut.
my thing is, if I'm in an elevator and I want to get away from people, I'm not pressing every fucking floor because that means every single floor it goes up, ding, stop, ding, stop, ding, stop. So if somebody is chasing her and she puts every floor to stop, they're gonna find her if they take the stairs because it's just gonna come up on the next floor, the next floor, the next floor. So why would she press every button? The next thing about that is she definitely looks like she's under the influence of drugs whenever she's in there. Not saying that she is, because she's either possessed, some situation. Because my first thought when I seen it, without hearing every bit of it, was this girl is drunk as a skunk. She's high. There's something wrong. It's weird that she's peeking her head out, but then she starts doing this like fucked up robot.
And like going back to the fact that she's bipolar and she's taking these meds, like there is mania involved that could explain away that for the whole detail. But the thing about it doesn't make clear sense and doesn't make real good perfect sense to me is she had these exits to go to this place on the roof, but like why was the water tank open for her to go into the water tank for one thing? And even if she lifted up, like we don't know how heavy the doors and which I know there's evidence saying that she probably could have.
There's several videos that when they're talking about the situation, they say that the doors on top should have been too heavy for this girl to pick up. But that's like we don't know how heavy it was without going out and actually lifting it ourselves. Second thing is why was it not locked? Because those things definitely should be locked. Those things would have been locked. So was somebody up there doing something? Maybe was somebody up there skinny dipping in the thing with her?
My thing is like this so mysterious about it is like she was found naked face up and her clothes were in the tank with her. If you're like just going skinny dipping, you're not throwing your clothes in there with you.
I don't know, because several people, when they do go skinny dipping in like an ocean or something, they'll take their shorts off after they get in if they're self conscious about somebody seeing them naked.
I know, but the clothes were in the tank with her is what they said in the
Yeah,
video.
but that's what I'm saying. When you go skinny dipping, some people go in with their trunks, take them off when they're in there, and then throw them where they can go back and pick them up.
Okay, I see what you're saying. But like I just don't understand for the life of me that why how she ended up on the roof without the alarms going off. It stands to reason that maybe she went out through a fire escape, but it doesn't really it still blows my mind that no one will like notice that those doors were open for her to go in and fire escape.
My thing is, are we sure that the locks were up to date? Are we sure that, the alarms were actually set? Because obviously nobody's watching the damn security cameras to see this girl acting like a fool, inside of an elevator. Nobody's watching. She's been moved up already because she was disturbing the peace. Like her roommates.
Yeah, you would think if she's acting that crazy,
They
they
would
would
look
keep an eye
out.
on
They
her.
would keep an eye on her. They would know something's up. I mean, the last people to see her were hotel executives and a clerk from a bookstore.
But they said she was acting normal, which is just inconsistency in the story because like 1 minute she's acting normal and then the next minute but I guess that goes along with bipolar. I'm not really sure because I don't actually suffer from bipolar, so it's going to be harder for me to really understand from that perspective.
Yeah, this clerk, Katie Orphan, even says that she was acting friendly, she was outgoing, she was nice, and then she was talking about what book she was going to get and how she didn't want to get something too heavy because she's going to be carrying it throughout the day. And I'm like, why would you commit suicide if you were planning on doing other stuff during the day? It goes back to our Kurt Cobain discussion. Why would you make other plans if you were going to commit suicide?
Also, just like the actions in the elevator just doesn't make sense to me unless she was like manic, but it still doesn't explain a whole lot to me. It's just very confusing, the whole situation.
Even in a state of mania or insanity, how would who thinks, oh, there's a water tank on the roof, let me go play in the water tank? That just doesn't seem like the first idea that would come to your mind, because who thinks about there being a water tank on top of the hotel unless they're very visible for people to see?
Also, the thing about it is she would have had to climb the ladder and like be able to get into the thing, and I think that's pretty hard. And then like I just don't understand how she made it up to the rooftop without being spotted when there's people usually watch the cameras and stuff. It just seems very coincidental.
Going back to the damn the fact of the matter of her being, erratic and whatnot, and getting her moved up to the 5th floor where nobody else was. I'm trying to figure out what actually she would have been doing to get her moved.
And if you look in some of the pictures, you can see like shadows and stuff. I mean, I know that sounds crazy and really hard to believe, but there are pictures out there where they show stuff like that.
Like when she's ducked up in the corner, the CCTV footage, somebody has took a picture where it shows like a shadow figure standing in the doorway. Maybe she was being chased by a demon or some sort of entity.
Also, it stands in question that there was speculation that someone actually tampered with the elevator footage, but you can't really clearly tell because the footage is just so grainy. It's really hard to like make out. So I'm going to dismiss that because I don't know for a fact that it has been. So I can't honestly say that.
I think it's a good idea to dismiss that thing, because when you do watch the videotape, and like I said again, I do think y'all should watch it. In the bottom, they talk about the time being tampered and a minute being skipped, but you can't see the numbers, or at least I can't. But then again, I might be blind, so you never know.
But then again, if you really think about it, this hotel is supposed to be like a really upscale, famous hotel.
Well, didn't they say it wasn't really famous though?
It was famous.
I think,
but it's famous for a lot of like murders
and serial killers stayed
suicides,
there.
and serial killers stayed there and stuff. You would think that they would have upgraded like camera systems and stuff. So it doesn't really make sense for the camera to be so grainy on its own unless someone did tamper with it, because maybe they don't want people to find out about what happened because they don't want their reputation to go down.
Well, they even recently changed the name of the hotel to something else, It's no longer the Hotel Cecil.
That's the thing?
Yeah, it's a thing. They've recently changed the name of it.
Okay, also to put intact to this investigation of stuff where the cops were there. The whole investigation started when her parents were expecting her to call her when she was supposed to be on her way to San Francisco, which she never made it. She never made it, so her parents filed a missing persons report. Portions, really?
Persons.
I mean, we know what you're saying, but yeah, they filed a missing persons report on on the next day that she went missing.
But here's my thing about that. Why are the parents filing a missing persons report after 1 day? Like,
Because she always called them, so it's kind of
true?
suspicious.
But is it very odd that she couldn't have missed 1 day of calling her parents?
Yeah, but when
Or
you have a child with bipolar depression and stuff,
yeah, her
you
parents
know,
might have been very, very
they might have
strict.
had a reason. But to be honest, I don't think it's unusual for someone to go a day without talking to their parents. But then you skip forward a few days, and then they discovered the elevator footage and stuff, and obviously we've already went over the elevator footage.
Yeah.
But then you skip forward to February 19th, and guests are complaining about the smells and stuff from the water. I guess that's how they found her.
Yeah. See, the investigation that was started by her parents, and then the first week of February, they're searching everything. They're searching to find this girl that's went missing. They don't know what's going on. Her room, there's nothing wrong with it. Doesn't seem like anybody broke in her room to make her disappear. Nothing's out of the ordinary except for the fact this girl's missing. On February 14th, they finally come forth with the camera footage, which in my brain should have been the first thing
That they looked at. Yeah,
at.
that's my thought. And then the thing is, they found her body naked, face up, in the water tank, which to me also doesn't make any sense because
Well,
if you drowned, wouldn't your body be face down?
not necessarily. It ought
If the
to.
water covers your face, it only takes I think it's like an inch of water to drown someone, so you could just be barely under the surface and still drown.
Yeah.
She could have been stuffed in there. If it was murder, she could have been stuffed in there, and then she just can't swim,
And then we can
and
talk
then eventually
about
she would float.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can also talk about the inconsistencies on the autopsy report and the coroner's report ruling an accidental drowning. There's just so many reasons why it could have been murder. Literally, someone could have just pushed her into the tank. They could have been having fun out on the roof, talking and stuff, and someone could have pushed her into the tank.
The thing about that is they ruled it an accident, and they said it wasn't murder just because she didn't have bruises or anything. But you don't really have to bruise anybody
To drown them.
to pretend like you're going to go skinny dipping with them in a tank and then lock them in there and then they can't swim. Because eventually you are going to cramp up, so you are going to drown.
Yeah, and keep in mind, she's not tall at all, really, I don't think. Tall enough to reach the top of the water tank, so if someone pushed her in, it's not like she can just hop right out.
Water tanks aren't exactly small, and even if she knew how to swim, eventually she would cramp up and drown.
Yeah.
It's like if you play Sims and you take the damn ladder away in the pool, they're going to drown because eventually they don't know how to climb up on the side for some reason.
Yeah.
That's going directly off topic, but still, if eventually somebody's going to drown because they can't.
She didn't have a way out, so basically she's going to drown.
Especially if they close the lid and it's really dark in there and they can't see how to get out.
Yeah. I think it would stand to reason that there would be a ladder on the inside of the tank, though, would there not be?
I have no clue how that
People aren't
works.
usually supposed to be inside them.
Yeah,
so.
but it's
Probably not.
people aren't technically supposed to be, but somebody who serviced it, if it had an open hole, there should be a ladder. It stands to reason there should have been. So they did find it. They found it locked, right?
I don't know.
Didn't they find the top locked from what we remember?
I know it was closed.
Yeah, I think that they did find it locked, and that's why they couldn't figure out how the hell she got in there.
That really confuses me because that would stand to reason to me that would be murder because how did she shut the damn thing if she's inside?
I think that's the piece that was missing from that thing that we wrote down because I'm pretty sure the reason it was mysterious is because she was in there and nobody could figure out how she got in there.
It doesn't make any sense for a woman her age to be able to shut the door on top of the fact that she's not tall enough to reach it. You would have to be pretty tall to be able to reach the top. And a good swimmer on top of that.
This is also true. I think it could stand to reason that somebody could have locked her into the water tank.
Or alternate theory, she accidentally fell in and grabbed the door on the way down to try and stop her from falling in. That's one way that could happen, I guess. But to me, it's not realistic to think that that's how it happened.
So the people help them figure out the situation that she's in the water tank. When they're trying to take a shower and they turn on the water and it's black water with funky ass smell, that would throw me off too. And then I would definitely say she's up there. Or I would say, y'all need to get some new damn water because it stinks and I don't want to be covered in black shit.
Yeah. I think that the hotel should have handled it a lot better than they did and said, because mostly they've tried to cover it up. You know, like they've changed their name. They don't have like the clear security cameras. They don't really want to talk about it. I've noticed in some other videos that I've watched where people will actually go to the hotel and try to talk to them about it and they won't say a word. So they try to cover it up, just like how some hotels that are known for being haunted don't talk about their ghost stuff unless they like mark it that way.
To me, honestly, not talking about is probably the worst thing you can do because that just puts an air of mystery to it.
Yeah, it makes it more suspicious.
Yeah, I don't want to stay in your hotel if I'm going to go missing and I pop up in a water tank and end up on somebody's hair later.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it doesn't bode well for anyone going there because like you can't trust what's going on, and then the fact that there's an illegal drug trade in like the same area,
Yeah.
it just to me it stands to reason that maybe one of them, and that, keep in mind that she was not tested for roofies. I thought that was really kind of like
Yeah,
crazy
and
that she wasn't
they
tested
say
for
that
it.
she didn't have any drugs in her system, but they said they didn't test for roofies. Well, roofie is not considered a drug, is my question after that.
It
Is
is
that
considered
not
a drug.
considered a drug?
It's a date rape drug.
But they weren't tested for that.
I don't understand why she wasn't tested for that when they know there's an illegal drug trade going on in that very area. I'm not going to say in the hotel because honestly, I don't know.
It would make
I've
sense
never
if she
been.
was roofied. But then again, didn't it say in one of the documentaries how one of her family members had like this issue where they went to the water whenever they were having
Well,
like issues?
they said that the guy that we were watching, his take on it to find out the information. He
That someone
actually
messaged him.
interviewed somebody from that same hotel that was there and said that their family member had mania and that she had a strange attraction to go, or she had a strange attraction to go to the water, to go to large bodies of water. They were attracted to water.
Still, to me, it doesn't make sense because like there's other bodies of water. Why
Yeah,
the
like
top
you
of the
could fill
roof?
up a bathtub, or if they had a pool in there, she could have
Yeah.
always went to that instead.
It all goes back to the curse of La Llorona.
That's a river.
It's a body of water where a woman is trying to drown a child.
Is she a child? I don't know how old she is.
No,
Didn't she
I
graduate?
think she graduated.
Yeah,
I think she was college
in one of
age.
her photos.
It's a terrible situation overall.
I still think that it's possible that she could have been playing the elevator game, and I don't know exactly how you play it because I don't really try to get into that stuff, but it's like you push like different amounts of buttons in like a certain order and it takes you to like a demonic world or something. And like you're supposed to be possessed and there's like a girl that follows you around, so it would make sense if she saw a girl following her around and nobody else saw it because she was playing a game that she thought would be fun.
She's playing the elevator game, pressing all the buttons, trying to get to another dimension. Comes out of the elevator, Macarena's with the girl that's following her, and then climbs back in. And then later we don't see what happens, and eventually she ends up dead, ring style, inside of a water tank.
Yeah, that's her.
If you ask me, it's not like the craziest thing for like I do believe in paranormal. I don't know if we've ever been over like obviously we haven't been over this before, but I mean I obviously do believe in paranormal, but I don't know how I feel about this.
Epic foreshadowing.
I don't know how I feel about this situation being paranormal.
I mean, I think it's more likely that either someone killed her or she did it to herself, but it is a possibility considering the elevator game got really popular around that time. And like
Yeah.
even YouTubers like Shane Dawson were doing it, so it's possible that she was playing it and it killed her.
Or
in
like
the
she
end.
thought she was playing it and then had a manic episode during playing it.
That could be true. Or someone saw her playing it and thought it would be funny to pull a prank on her that ended up killing her.
That I was thinking that earlier. Maybe someone pulled a prank on her, and then that I just went horribly wrong. Because like they were people that she were roommates with. They were like mad at her at the time. Maybe one of them was trying to play a prank on her and it went wrong.
Maybe this CCTV footage was of a time before. Like maybe she went back to her hotel room and claimed that she was seeing a girl, and they dressed up like the girl that she acted like she was seeing, and they chased her to the roof. And then she tried to hide in the water tank, and they closed it on her, thinking it was funny, you know?
I also
Maybe.
have like an alternate theory to that. Like maybe the person edited themselves out of the footage and there was someone there the whole time talking to her. That freaks me out most to think about because that like they could. It's very possible the graininess to like
And
edit
that would
yourself
explain
out.
some shadows and stuff in there because, if you edit a video, unless you're like a complete professional,
You're gonna leave stuff
yeah,
behind.
you'll leave stuff behind. Like even models that do Photoshop, sometimes the straight lines in their background are curved. So, unless you're like a professional, if there is a person there, that would explain the shadows that they may have forgotten to erase.
And
It was
it
also-
would also explain the time jump.
The time jump and also the fact that she has some blurriness on her face because the editing kind of messed up.
Maybe the editor wanted to blur out the fact that she was actually talking to somebody in the moment that she was in the corner.
What freaks me out even more is if someone was actually on the elevator and they used like someone who actually worked for the hotel might have. This is just speculation. This is crazy.
If someone
had original
set it up.
footage of the elevator, they could have took the picture of the elevator and like edited in where they're out of the picture and they were in the elevator with her the whole time.
in like a darker tone, it could be. I mean, not for certain, but if like the hotel had it all set up, like they
Organ
made it
trade.
fake.
Organ trade?
No.
That could have been something crazy.
Jigsaw.
They made it fake. Like they had a person following her around and freaking her out and stuff, and then they edited it out to make it seem like there's something really freaky going on to get their hotel up in the news.
What a twist. The whole entire situation where people are killing themselves there is actually just a family-ran hotel scheme to murder people
And get
where they're
their
getting
hotel
off
up in
at killing
reputation.
people.
Because when something scary happens at a hotel or a big place, it attracts a lot of people. Especially like people that vlog and do promotional stuff. So if they
Bad
have
publicity is good publicity.
if they have
actually.
people coming to their place to record videos and try to figure out what's going on, it's still putting their name out into the news, whether it be like on YouTube or on the actual news or through a blog. So I mean, they could have helped set it up just to get publicity, even if it's bad publicity.
They Texas Chainsaw massacred it. The whole entire staff was in on it.
But then again, about when we go fast forward to the future, they done changed their name and everything. Maybe the publicity was just not.
Well, they still get the
good.
publicity even if they change their name. It's still the hotel.
Because people would then start to wonder, like, why did they change their name? Why are they trying to hide it?
Maybe they're better now.
Maybe.
It's just a very dark
Maybe they want you to
thing
think
to
that
think
so they
about.
can attract more people.
Yeah.
What a twist.
It's a
Yeah.
very dark thing to think about that they might have had a hand in her death. I mean, this is all clearly speculation because nobody actually knows what happened or what happened.
I think it'll forever be a mystery until maybe like the hotel's hiding something, like a file or a video that they're not showing people, or maybe someone actually saw her and they're not coming forward about it.
My
but
question
until then,
is-
it'll be a mystery.
My question is, they only have elevator cameras? What about the hallway camera?
Yeah, that is true. Why is there not a hallway camera pulled at the same exact time? Because they would have
And
had.
there should be
would've had
cameras near
cameras.
the exits, like
Yeah.
to the
The
roof.
cameras to the exit on the roof. Why
Yeah.
would you not put cameras on your roof?
Especially if you have like big water tanks and so many exits there, and you're trying to keep them locked. I would have a camera there at all times, so that way I could see, what's going on if someone's trying to get up there.
Yeah, the one place that it would be kind of hard to have the one is on the fire escapes. Like if the fire escape is one of those fire escapes where it's like stairs, platform, stairs, platform, stairs, platform,
I could
roof,
see that.
you're not going to have just a random Spider-Man camera on the side of the
Yeah.
building.
I mean,
But
you
you should
could.
still have one near
But
the fire
eventually
exit.
you would have one at the top of the roof to see anything
know-
going on the roof to protect yourself from even a worker going up there and
Yeah,
messing up.
liability.
This makes me question something too. Okay, so you've heard evidence that people jumped off your roof. Why would you not put cameras on your roof to stop people from doing that?
Yeah, why wouldn't you try to prevent it more?
And they had fire escapes to the roof. Why weren't they locked off enough to where no one can get to them? That's just what confuses me. There's no cameras throughout the whole.
There's not enough security.
American Horror Story Cecil Hotel.
It sounds like it for real though.
There's no reason to not release all the cameras. Why is that one the only important thing? Like she wasn't in your hotel the whole time.
Yeah, there's got to be more cameras.
She was in your hotel. There has to be one from the hallway. I just don't think they released it. Either they're hiding something or they just didn't think to look at that one. Why was the elevator the only thing you wanted to pull?
But then again, that could just be because the police didn't release the rest of the footage.
Yeah, that could be the only popularized thing because that was the closest you could see to her doing something messed up. But
I mean, they're not privy to have to release. They didn't even have to release the elevator thing. I don't even know how that got out, honestly, because this is part of an official police investigation. So, like,
well, I mean, usually when you go on TV and somebody's missing, they have like a photo or a video. It's like
well, yeah, that's the
this is
last
their
one.
last whereabouts.
Yeah, and
This
this
is
is
the last
before they
place
found her
we seen
body, I
them.
guess.
That was
So.
released on the 14th, if I'm correct. The 14th, it was released on the 14th, but the video was taken on the 1st.
Yeah, but it still doesn't stand to reason why, if they released that video, why wouldn't they release other videos of like the hallways and stuff, or use the hallway videos and stuff to find where she went?
Yeah, and to find how she got to the roof. It would make sense for them to try to figure it out. Or if they did figure it out and they just don't want the public to know that
You know,
they figured it out.
At least they could have seen like her leaving the building, like exiting through the actual hallway. They know she didn't leave the building because if she had left through the front exit, they would have seen her. So like she had to exit some other way. You can't tell me they didn't think to look at those cameras and say, "Hey, well she did it. This is our fault, kind of." You know, they need to own up for their part in it because like I'm just saying, no cameras at all. This is ridiculous.
If they did figure out like how she did it and stuff, maybe they're not releasing it because people will always be talking about this girl whether they know her name or not. They will always talk about the girl that ended up in the water tank. And maybe it's not so interesting when the mystery's over. So they might be hiding what actually happened to keep their hotel reputation up.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like,
But past the hotel, why would the police not take a step above? Hey, you're not bigger than the situation. This hotel is not bigger than the fact there's a dead girl in your water tank, and you might have potentially just like infected guests with nasty water. They could have drunk the nasty, dead girl water, the black water, which I don't think anybody would drink black water. Come on, some people do.
Well, police are kind of known to not release everything, whether it benefits, everyone else or not. So it wouldn't surprise me if they were holding stuff too. Or maybe at the time, whoever was on the case was bribed by the hotel to not release more stuff. It's possible because there are bad cops in the world. Not every cop is bad, but there are bad cops.
my point, like, it just blows my mind that they don't have any other footage of it. But, being like, if you're on an official cop investigation, you don't really usually release stuff on your victims. It just never comes out. You're not going to release that footage. Because that would be like, it would be, I don't know, in a way, maybe it'd be disrespectful to the family, but I don't honestly know why they don't.
To be fair, they might have been trying to respect the family in which way, and then they technically don't have to show you everything. They just have to tell you what happened, and I don't even know if it's required of them to have to tell you that.
Well, they honestly
it's not
didn't tell
necessarily
what
that it's a bad cop situation. This was a miss cue on information. Every bit of the information was not released.
We're probably never going to know the full story because there's no background on it and they're not going to dive back into the case when they ruled it accidental, so it's not like they're going to go and reopen it.
Yeah, most cases like this don't ever get reopened because it stays a mystery because the cops don't know what else to do with it.
On the other side of that, it's not really somebody that's big mainstream girl. I'm pretty sure she didn't want to be known as the girl that died in the water tank, but it's not like it was a celebrity that happened, or they would go more in detail if it was a celebrity to figure out what happened. It's a normal person, so it's not going to be like popularized as it was. They didn't probably expect the deal to go this tall. It's probably just meant to stay at that one secluded area.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It wasn't probably meant for national coverage.
It wasn't meant to turn into a really large conspiracy theory.
But, like a lot of YouTubers mentioned, you don't want to take everything at face value, because that if you take everything at face value, you never learn to question things, and then you just accept things that might not necessarily be true.
And then you'll live your life ignorant.
Yeah, it's it's just like the sheep and the shepherd thing I keep going back to. You don't want to always be a follower. You want to lead sometimes.
At the same time, from all the evidence that was gathered together on this whole situation, I mean, I came into this video with a set situation in my brain, what I thought it was, and that's even been changed perspective. But originally, my idea on this, my case closed, was the fact that there was enough. She took medicine that gave her mania, insanity. It would cause her to do stuff just obliviously and random. And if somehow she gets up to the roof, she's like, she already had these impulsive random things in her head, and she was already acting crazy and got moved up to the 5th floor because she was acting crazy. If she got up there, why would she not do something stupid and go in the water tank if it was open?
Yeah, my perspective has really changed through learning the facts, because like I thought one thing was one way, which I still not clear on the whole door thing and the door latch. I really don't understand how she could lift it to get in there if it was closed. I don't understand it. Is it too heavy? Is it not too heavy? That's a fact that they never really brought to light. But they did in one video say that she could possibly have lifted it. So that kind of concluded my whole theory on someone killing her. Because I don't know that now.
You see, with us talking, though, everything that we brought up together, it's not impossible in my brain that something demonic or something, or murder, all the points we brought up, thought up. The point is, all the points that we put together kind of sways that too, because I have this situation where I'm thinking mania, but then again, there's all this other stuff that's possible, so that brings it back to the mystery thing. Like, all the evidence suggested to me that the drugs was the reason why she did it. But then again, now there's all this other stuff that you have to think about. So
I think that no matter what happened, whether it was demonic or she's just having issues or someone murdered her, it's still really mainly on the hotel's fault for not taking more action and not staying more secure.
So, in your thoughts, murder, suicide, accident,
Honestly,
what happened?
To me, I still feel like she was murdered, but that's just my opinion. Because, like, I don't foresee her stature and her height and stuff being able to, like, shut that lid on herself.
I
When
think
she
I'm
wound up in the.
swaying a little towards murder, but then again, you don't really see any evidence that points to murder exactly.
Yeah, but you're not going to see murder if they pushed her in.
Then again, if you're a murderer, are you going to try to leave evidence? I mean, just because the police report says she doesn't have bruises and her fractures, all this stuff, doesn't mean somebody didn't
Just push her in
there.
there.
She could have had a gun to her head, and if you have a gun to somebody's head, I mean, if they're scared enough, they're going to do what you tell them to.
Yeah, I'm leaning toward murder, but that's my opinion.
I would say accident based off of her drugs, but at the same time, if you're doing drugs, that just doesn't tell you there's a water tank on the roof.
Yeah, I feel like there's a reason she went up there.
Oh, it's not really that she's done drugs. It's you mean her meds.
Her meds are her drugs. When I say drugs, I'm not flat out saying like heroin, cocaine stuff, but I'm saying like the stuff she was taking, it made it cause mania, but that doesn't just like it doesn't just drive you to climb in a water tank.
Even if it was the medicine that was affecting her, I mean, how was she supposed to know that there was a water tank that she could get to up there? Like, how did she know that there was something up there? How did she know there was a way to get to the roof?
Something coaxed her into going up to the roof.
I think she was influenced to go up there.
It wasn't
somehow.
alone just, go up to the roof. So, I mean, undetermined in my eyes, but something, whether it was an outside force or a person, murdered her. I'm going with murder too.
Well, you can give us your comments in the comments below. Thank you for listening to our podcast.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.